We are live. It's a sunny, beautiful day. The sun is shining in my house on my face. Okay. And we are recording. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. It's Monday. Welcome to Rise and Shine with Morning Moon. I'm Coach Lacy, and I hope you have anchored in to your wellness foundations on this Monday, April 7th. If you haven't already subscribed, hit the subscribe button, ding the bell so that you're notified every time that we go live here at Morning Moon to give a good word. Good morning. It's Monday, and as you may or may not have noticed, I did not do a Friday show. We had some things happen over the weekend that I needed to just take a moment and breathe from. So just when you think that life has stabilized and things are floating along, a wave comes, a storm comes to just kind of rattle things up a bit. So it's Monday, everyone, and I'm just coming to you guys a little heavier than usual. But with that heaviness brings clarity, and it brings new hope for things to come. And while I don't need to go into the details of the nitty-gritty of what went down in my life, I will just say that this weekend was not easy. This last week was not easy for us. And someone that I love deeply made a choice that I didn't agree with. And a big emotional moment challenged every single ounce of my patience, grace, self-restraint, challenged me for growth, challenged me in every way that I had. And yet another season has come to pass, and I'll just say things got really loud and tensions rose and words were said. When it was all said and done, there was a big moment of disconnect, a moment of regret, and a moment of deep, deep reflection. And it wasn't just about what happened. It was about this story that got told while it was happening. A version of events that, painted us out to be the bad guy. I'm the bad guy. Like on Scarface. I'm say goodnight to the bad guy. Say goodnight to the bad guy. I'm used to being the bad guy, but it never hurts any less, especially when there's context to be had and truths to be told, and we all see things through our own lens, and it hurts deeply when people misunderstand you or misunderstand your intentions on both sides. But knowing that we see life through our own eyes, and especially when we're young, it helps me to know that everything's going to be okay. And there are certain rites of passage in life that happen, and things happen and unravel in ways that we don't ever expect or understand fully in the moment. But this event had me reflecting on a hard truth that I really just wanted to bring today to you all. I've been thinking about what to say, and I was going to do a Sunday show, but I decided not to because I didn't yet have the words. But what I have to share with you all today is that not everything that hurts is always an attack. Sometimes pain is necessary for growth, and sometimes it's a mirror, and it helps us to reflect on the choices and the words and the consciousness that we had during that time and make changes. And sometimes it takes walking away and standing back and getting a full view to realize what ground you're standing on. And I remember being young, and I remember being so sure of myself. But one thing that I always was when I was young was I was always the victim. Someone else was always the bad guy. My mom was the bad guy. My stepdad was the bad guy. My teachers were the bad guys. All the adults were the bad guys. And there was always, someone against me. And I've been the one that's been convinced that no one understood me. For so long, I was just so convinced that no one understood me, and that I would spin stories to make myself feel safer and double down in my stories, and have people, my peers, validate my stories, and have everybody around me validate my stories. I would go to everyone around me for validation and of what I was telling myself. But the truth always came back around, and I always ended up learning a lesson from being my own worst enemy that way. And the way that it happens is that's growth. And it if you're open to it anyhow, truth will reveal itself no matter what. And we will come to the understanding of the choices and the conscious realities we had a part in, because everybody plays a part. What happened this weekend, I played a part, they played a part, other people played a part, everybody plays their part. And unless we're emotionally and spiritually mature enough to recognize our part in the story and use it as a mirror to make a change, then we won't have any growth. So if we live in this victim mode and let things derail us into these stories, we'll live in those stories. And the best thing to do is, again, anchor in. So I really had to anchor in to my foundations this week and sit with myself in a moment of reflection of what I contributed to the situation, because there's always contributions that we make. And I, recognize now where I could have done things differently, but I also recognize where God intervenes, and there's a bigger plan to things than what I could ever understand. And, there's always answered prayers, and they're not answered in the way that what we might have wanted them to be, but they go answered nonetheless. And there's a lesson to be learned in all things. And I think the lesson for me is grace, humility, and being more kind and staying in my lane, and not trying to control situations and people, places, and things. And for me, that's pretty huge. That's a huge reflection. And there's a freedom in that. And just trusting that God has the best interest, God has his best, will do, God will do everything to make everything as it should be. So I trust that's the way that it will be. And I am not going to revel in sadness or wallow in regret or spin stories or even continue to talk about what transpired, because it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is details don't matter. What matters is what we do with it. And so if we can just move forward in a graceful, respectful way and love each other anyways, and recognize the divine design and everything, and recognize God's plan for our life, and that it's not up to anybody but ourselves, no matter what that means, and who it is, we can have faith that everything will be okay and work out. And so in that, I'm trusting God's plan, And I know that there's been doors open for me now. And that is something I've been praying for. And that's something I look forward to. And the details don't matter right now, but if you are watching this and you're going through something similar, maybe with a loved one, maybe with yourself, you just need to remember to be kind to yourself and be kind to others. And choices matter. What you say matters, and how you show up in the world always matters. And holding a boundary is not cruelty on all behalf. It's not cruelty. It's just recognizing what you need for yourself. And knowing that silence doesn't necessarily mean indifference. Sometimes we just need to take a step back and reflect. And when it comes to regret, we all do things we regret. But when it's held with humility, regret can be a teacher and not a punishment. There are many things that I regret about this situation. And it changed me as a person. It will change me how I interact with people, places, and things, and in certain things, it changes how you interact with people. But it also, these situations help you to release control. You can't control how others see us, and you can't control how others live their lives, but you can control how you show up in the world. You can only control your controllables, and your controllables are your wellness foundations and your foundations to anchor in. We can't control everything. So I would say that the reflection for today is to think about, are you reacting? How are you reacting? Are you reacting out of pain, or are you responding, from your truth? And are you walking away to grow? You're walking away from a situation so that you can grow, or are you wanting away from situations so you can avoid? And what are the stories that you're telling yourselves? Are you telling yourself and others stories to protect your ego, or are you telling stories to invite accountability? And for me, I want to have some accountability for my part in the story, because I'm not a victim. I'm not a victim of this circumstance. There are certain things that set me free. There's certain things that I've been freed from because of it, and I praise God for that. But on the same hand, there are some things that I wish could be fulfilled, that I just have to wait and trust for. And God has a plan, and it's not our own. So, I'm learning all this stuff in real time with you guys. And that's the beauty of this show. And that's the beauty of me showing up every day, is you get to see my trials and tribulations. And I might not always share all the details because they're not important. I'm not going to share everything with the internet about what's going on in my life. It's not relevant to the details, but the lesson in it is it's okay to it's okay. The lesson in all of my teachings is it's okay to grieve what used to be. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to have regrets, but it's what you do with those regrets, and it's what you do with those choices and those griefs, and what you do from all of this pain and sadness and hurt and trauma. It's okay. It's okay to give space, and it's okay to miss people while you're giving space. And it's okay to hold people accountable with love. And if they don't like to be held accountable, then they might run away. But that's not for, and they'll come back. It's not for us to judge them. And it's not for us to make those changes. People make choices. And if they want to make choices that aren't well thought out and well-rounded and considered, then they'll have consequences for those choices. Emotional outbursts and emotional trauma leads to making bad choices. And so then that leads to more consequences. But that's okay. It's okay. Even when it breaks your heart, it's okay, because we're still learning. And I hope that in the space and the silence of learning lessons, that we can have strength. And I hope one day that we can all look back on these lessons as not rejection or a pain inducing trauma filled, lineage, chain giver. We don't want to pass on generational traumas. I don't want you to think that you can't get through whatever challenges you're facing and that they will pass on to your children. We can persevere and we can transcend these generational traumas and not pass them in. So, I hope that one day we can all just look back and see the lesson and laugh about things. But as the moment stands, it's the real work begins when we make choices, and these choices have consequences. And this, this is life. So this is your daily reminder for Monday to anchor in, everyone. Anchor in with your lifestyle habits and your choices. If only one thing today. If you can only do one thing, go for a walk, read your book, journal, gratitude, reach out to someone you love, drink your water, eat your protein, eat healthy food, nourish your body. Anchor in, do one thing, and then maybe two, and then three, and then maybe you'll get to all of them. The checklist isn't about perfection. It's about progress, and it's about showing up every day. The last few days I have not done my work. I have shown up, I have rested. And that rest, that 6 to 7 hours, and then my reflection, my reading, and my journaling, those things are what's keeping me going. But I need to get back to my exercise, and I haven't been as good as my exercise and diet is normal. So it's time for me to anchor back into that. So what do you need to work on? So anchor in. If you haven't already done your circle of life check-in, do your circle of life check-in. Ground into the present. Make a decision that reflects the version of you that you are trying to become, not the one that you're trying to escape. If you don't have the circle of life, you can find it in the guide section of the Rise and Shine with Morning Moon group on Facebook, or you can download it from my website, www.lacyjwatson.com. Take a deep breath. Know that you are loved. Know that you are supported. Know that there is a calling on your life and a divine design. No challenge is ever too big or ever overarching to overcome. Oof, can't talk today. But we can't move forward if we're still lying to ourselves about where we are. So be truthful. Stop telling yourself stories. You don't need to be a victim. Anchor in with your daily wellness and foundations and rise and shine, my friends. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see